Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. We've previously looked at Formula 1 Grand Prix that never happened, and today we'll be looking at IndyCar races that never happened. Like Formula 1, there's been various rumors connecting different locations to a potential race that have fallen through for a variety of reasons. Among these rumored locations, I've picked 10 of them to go over in this video. Before getting further into it though, if you enjoyed the video, then please give it a like and share the video, and if you want to see more similar content, then you can subscribe to the channel. For our first potential race, we'll go to the one that I have here that's the furthest back in time. Back in 1980, CART was in their second year after breaking away from USAC and were looking for some marquee events to add to their schedule. One potential option that developed was a race through the streets of Chicago. An idea was put to Carl Haas about looking to hold a Formula 1 race through the streets, but he thought that would be too difficult to put together and decided on another option. That option would be a weekend which hosted both a kart race as well as a Can-Am race. A circuit was put together over the next few months and eventually proposed to the city. The city approved of the race, and in September of 1980, it was announced that both series would race through the streets on the 4th of July weekend in 1981. The circuit was 2.7 miles long and would incorporate Lakeshore Drive near Grant Park and Soldier Field. Haas was excited about the race and said this could make Chicago the Monaco of North America, while then Chicago Mayor Jane Burns said, "I think the Chicago Grand Prix will be an excellent way to showcase our city to the rest of the world because of the international popularity of auto racing." While both series in the city were excited for the race, the city's residents were not. Immediately, complaints came in from residents saying that the city had more pressing needs to be worried about and that the race would take away access to the parks and buildings in those locations. Haas said that they had that all figured out, but the pressure was too much for the city. 44 days after the race was announced, the city announced it was canceled. While CART didn't have a 4th of July weekend event for 1981, they added one in 1982 at Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland, and a race would be held there on the 4th of July weekend through 1991. IndyCar would eventually race in the Chicago area, though, as CART raced on the 1-mile oval Chicago Motor Speedway from 1999 to 2002, while the IRL raced at Chicagoland beginning in 2001 and raced there until the Unified Series final race in 2010. As for the location the 1981 race was proposed to be at, NASCAR announced a street circuit in the same area of the city that is scheduled to happen on July 2nd of this year. Regardless of how that turns out, it's made it further than the 44 days the kart race was before being canceled. In the mid-2000s, there were many locations in Europe that were connected to a potential Champ Car race, but just a couple of them would actually happen. Of the ones that didn't happen, the one that probably came closest was a race at Jerez. The circuit hosted 7 Formula 1 races from 1986 to 1997, with the final one being the controversial season finale involving the collision between Jacques Villeneuve and Michael Schumacher. In 2007, Champ Car took a trip to Europe late in the summer, first stopping at Zolder in Belgium and then Assen in the Netherlands, and both tracks were on the schedule to return in 2008, in addition to a third European event scheduled at Jerez on June 8th. Spanish driver Oriol Servia was excited for this new event, saying it would be the first time he would race in his home country since leaving for the U.S. in 1998. However, in February of 2008, Champ Car merged with the IRL, and the only tracks on the Champ Car schedule, though, to host an IndyCar race in 2008 would be Long Beach, Edmonton, and Surface Paradise, leaving Jerez off the calendar along with the Zolder and Assen, and IndyCar has not returned to Europe since. In 2005, the IRL started to include road and street courses in their schedule, visiting St. Petersburg, Sonoma, and Watkins Glen, and were looking to add more in 2006. In addition to adding more road and street courses, they were also looking to expand into Canada, so a race in the streets of Quebec City seemed to make sense for the series. Officials from Quebec City supposedly attended the 2005 race in St. Petersburg, and over time a 3-mile, 18-turn track through the city streets was designed, and the event, if it had happened, would take place in the fall. Throughout the summer, the series was working to finalize the deal, and the series even delayed releasing their 2006 schedule, with it being rumored that finalizing the Quebec City race was one of the reasons for the holdup. However, rumors also said that it was possible the IRL would be able to host the race in Montreal at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve instead, with the circuit saying that Champ Car, who was racing there, had breached their contract, and the IRL only wanted one race in Canada for 2006. Supposedly, the IRL chased the new possibility at Montreal, which didn't go down well with the Quebec City officials, so they backed out of the deal, and the IRL didn't end up getting either of them. I couldn't find any pictures of the proposed circuit, and rumors of a Quebec City race came up again a few times in the early 2010s, but nothing serious seemed to come out of those. Next, we'll be taking a look at a proposed race through the streets of Providence, Rhode Island. The first reports of a race came in the fall of 2012, with the city saying they were holding discussions with IndyCar and they were hopeful they would be able to make a deal. The proposed circuit was 2.1 miles and would go by the state capitol. Hopes were that it would be on the calendar in 2013, but when the 2013 calendar was released, the Providence race was absent from it as the series said the city hadn't been able to meet all the deadlines for a race that year. The city remained hopeful for a race in the future, though, and in 2013 they said they were targeting 2015 for their first race and were hopeful to make an announcement soon. The series openly talked about how Providence was a possibility for a spot on the 2015 schedule, but things seemed to die off there. In the end, the city said the economics of a race wouldn't work out and moved on, while a spokeswoman said they were unable to agree on safety and infrastructure measures. The organizers behind it would move on to a potential race in Boston, which would make the calendar in 2016, but would end up being another race that never happened. In addition to looking to expand into Europe in the mid-2000s, Champ Car was looking to expand into Asia, and one of the countries that they tried to race in was South Korea. They were looking to race on the streets of Seoul in 2004, but that never happened, so they instead moved on to a new circuit in the city of Ansan. The circuit would be just under 2 miles long and was on the 2005 Champ Car schedule for a race on October 16th. As the year went on, doubts started to creep in, though, as rumors persisted that the construction had fallen behind and that the track wouldn't be done in time. Champ Car denied these rumors even less than a month before the race was scheduled, but at the end of September it was announced that the race would be canceled. This didn't deter Champ Car to keep trying, though, as the race was included once again on the 2006 calendar, this time on October 17th, and they were working with a new promoter this time hoping for better results. However, as the year went on, rumors persisted that the race would be canceled once again, and that's exactly what happened in the summer. There were rumors in 2007 that the track may try to make another appearance on the Champ Car's calendar in 2008, but those didn't appear to get too far. The circuit was completed, though, and would eventually be used by the Korean version of Top Gear for various segments, but in 2016 it was closed, having never hosted an international race. We stay with the Champ Car in the same era for this next one, but this time it's a proposed race through the streets of Phoenix, Arizona. A race was organized to run through the city streets and was scheduled to be the season finale for the 2007 season on December 2nd. The track was planned to be about 2 miles long, but there were quickly some that were against the race, with one of those being NASCAR. The series initially wanted to run it a couple weeks earlier, which would have been just a week after NASCAR raced at the Oval in Phoenix. Champ Car agreed to push the race back to December 2nd, and the city council approved the race. However, the sheriff's office was still against the race, saying that they would park a tank on the track as they held fears that the proposed circuit would disrupt a 911 call center. A test was held on the streets in March of 2007 for this reason, as well as for noise levels, with Team Australia drivers Will Power and Simon Pagenaud driving, and the test was successful enough that the last planned run for the day was not deemed necessary. Footage from this test actually still exists on YouTube. As the summer went on, though, rumors stated that the race may be in trouble, and in the end of August it was announced that it would be canceled. The organizers stated that they would not be able to secure enough sponsorship following the departure of the race's primary sponsor earlier in the year, but were hopeful that the race could still be held in 2008. The same organizers ran a street race in Las Vegas that opened the 2007 season and said that the Phoenix cancellation would have no effect on that race, but neither Phoenix nor Las Vegas made the 2008 Champ Car schedule that never ended up happening due to the merger. You may notice that the proposed circuit was in the same area as the street race that hosted the 1989 through 1991 Formula One US Grand Prix and even included some of the same streets. While the race was deemed a failure, only lasting 3 years, I guess you could say it at least got to the point in which it held a race. The next one I have is a potential street race in Oklahoma City, and rumors of this one have come up a couple of times. The first rumor I can find is from early 2007, and it was stated that the potential race could be for either the IRL or Champ Car, but this seemed to die off quickly, and over the next few years, speculation was that the city would host an American Le Mans race. In 2011, it was announced the city was planning to host the first race in 2013, but that event would never happen. Fast forward a few years later to 2016, and rumors popped up again about a potential IndyCar race in the city. The organizers behind were the same ones behind the Boston Grand Prix that never happened in 2016, but in April that year it was said that the Oklahoma City Council would vote on whether they should further pursue a race. The council voted in favor of it, allowing for IndyCar to look for a potential location in the city, and it was said they determined 2 potential sites, but the organizers said there were concerns over how close the city was to Fort Worth, Texas, where Texas Motor Speedway is located. However, as far as I can see, rumors ended there possibly linked to the cancellation of the Boston Grand Prix, which came shortly after. Throughout much of the 2010s, rumors persisted that IndyCar was looking to hold a race in Calgary, Alberta. The earliest rumors I can find go back to 2010, in which it was stated that IndyCar is looking at Calgary as a potential location for a third race in Canada, but this was quickly denied. However, when it was announced that the race in Edmonton would be falling off the calendar, the series was looking to replace it with another Canadian race, preferably on the western side of the country, and Calgary along with a return to Vancouver were the 2 possibilities that seemed to make the most sense. It was speculated that a permanent road course would be built in the city's biggest road course, Race City Motorsports Park, had recently closed in 2011. However, then IndyCar CEO Randy Bernard said he had visited the city, and while he liked to see it host a race, he didn't expect one to come anytime soon, and rumors seemed to die off for a bit. They were resurrected in 2015, though, and this time it was said that James Hinchcliffe and Rick Peterson, who is currently involved with the McLaren IndyCar team, were the ones behind it. Hinchcliffe said that initial discussions went well and was hoping to have a new race on the calendar in 2017, and this time it sounded like the race would incorporate the grounds of the Calgary Stampede in order to not really interfere with the city's residents. The race would also have been promoted by Green Savory, who promotes other IndyCar races on the calendar, including St. Petersburg and Toronto. Rumors kind of died down there, though, until they were brought up again in 2018, in which Peterson said he was hoping to get the race on the calendar in 2020, and that the reason for the lack of news was due to Green Savory putting their efforts into revitalizing the race in Portland, which returned to the calendar in 2018. However, after that, I haven't found any further rumors, so it's probably likely that any chance of this race happening is now gone. This next one I can't find a lot of information about, but it looks like in 2007, the IRL was looking into adding an additional non-championship race at the end of the season, with the race taking place through Jones Park in Gulfport, Mississippi. The idea for the race was to help revitalize the Gulf Coast of the U.S. that was devastated by Hurricane Katrina in 2005, and former team owner Larry Cahill was behind the project. The first report of the race came in December of 2006, with Cahill saying the race would surely happen and that he would be entering 2 cars in the 2007 season. Further reports in February 2007 indicated that the plan was to hold a race through the park for 3 years, and if the race was successful, then an oval would be built in the area to host races then. It was reported that some members of the city's council had concerns, and I couldn't find any further reports. Everything with the race seems rushed, though, as even if everything got agreed on shortly after the February reports, getting the city ready to host the race by the planned date of October would probably have been difficult. Also, the cars that Cahill said he would enter in 2007 never happened. The final one I had may be the strangest proposal I found, and that would be a 1-mile oval to be built in Plainfield, Connecticut, which is about halfway between Hartford, Connecticut and Providence, Rhode Island. The thing that made this proposal strange, though, is that the plan was to have the track indoors inside of a dome. The first story I could find about this came in early 2004, and it says that a fan attended the Daytona 500 and saw that there is a dog racing track nearby and thought that it would be a good idea to build an auto racing facility next to the dog racing track in Plainfield. A model of what the track would look like was released, and if built, it was said it would seat about 140,000 people. The organizers said that they were hoping to host Champ Car, IRL, and NASCAR, but NASCAR quickly distanced themselves away from the proposal, saying they have nothing to do with the project, while both Champ Car and IRL said that they hadn't heard from the organizers, but Champ Car did at least say that they may be interested in racing there. Plans initially were denied by the town, but after making some adjustments in the proposal, it was then accepted, but there were still local residents that were against the project. Details after that seemed to be hard to come by, but it looks like in 2005, another company bought the land that the track was proposed on, ending any chance of it happening. The dog track ended up being closed around the same time, and the land was sold again in 2017, and it looks like a large warehouse is currently being built on it. As crazy as that proposal was, it sounds more like a dream than anything. So there are 10 IndyCar races that never happened. Let me know what you think of them, and if you would have liked to have seen any of them happen, and also if you would like to know more about proposed IndyCar races. Also, if you have any more information on any of these proposals, I'd be interested to hear about it. Thanks for watching.